London, the city of red buses, rainy skies, and royal drama. Millions dream of visiting, living, or even moving here just like I did, which is why I packed up my life in the US and moved here almost 2 years ago. But what if I told you you've been lied to? Yep, today I'm exposing 8 huge lies about London that nobody talks about, so let's dive in. Let's start with the most repeated myth that London is a non-stop rainy nightmare. This is one of the biggest exaggerations in modern tourism. While the city is often gray, cloudy, overcast, it actually doesn't rain nearly as much as people believe. When you compare the average annual rainfall to cities like Rome, New York, and even Miami, they get way more rainfall than London does. The main difference is that in those places the rain comes in short, heavy bursts. London's drizzle is gentler, but it does seem to hang around a little bit longer. But it's the gloom that messes with people. And after living here for almost 2 years, I will say that there has never been any intense rainstorms here, especially compared to when I used to live in Vietnam or Florida. It's always just like a light drizzle. Nothing major, but again, the weather is more gray and cloudy on a daily basis rather than rainy. So no, you don't need an umbrella every day in London, but you probably want to keep a compact one in your bag just in case it randomly starts to drizzle on you. But it's less about the downpour and more about being prepared for weather mood swings, because the UK in general has insane weather mood swings. The next lie is that London is one cohesive city with a single identity, but the reality is that London is more like a federation of mini cities, each with its own vibe, culture, and even dialect. It's made up of 32 boroughs, and the difference between them can be absolutely wild. Take Hackney and Hampstead. In Hackney, you'll find edgy art, vintage shops, underground music venues, and in Hampstead, leafy streets, £5 million townhouses, and quiet cafes serving matcha lattes. Same city, totally different universes, and they're right next to each other. Not only does the vibe change from borough to borough, but even in the direction of London. Like if you compare East London to West London, which is obviously dozens of boroughs in each, it's completely different. People say East London is more trendy, more hipster, while West London is more posh. I've only ever lived in West London, and I will agree with that. I personally prefer it over here. I think it's way nicer and way cleaner, and as soon as I get to East London, it feels completely different. And my first year living in London, I lived in Hammersmith, which is in Zone 2, and now I live a lot further out in Zone 5, and just between these two boroughs that I've lived in, it's a completely different feel. Like it feels like totally different cities, and this patchwork nature is what gives London its soul, but it also means that your experience of the city will heavily depend on where you stay or where you live. So no, there's no such thing as the London experience. There's your London experience based on where you're at. Here's a lie that scares a lot of people off, the idea that only the rich can survive in London. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. London is extremely expensive. I've talked about just how expensive it is in my cost of living in London video and a few others, but it's not exclusively for millionaires. Yes, rent in places like Kensington, Chelsea, and Notting Hill are just ridiculous, but there are dozens of outer boroughs and up-and-coming neighborhoods where housing is far more reasonable. One of the best things about London is its expansive public transportation system, so you can easily live further out in zones 4 through 9 and get something way more affordable and still get to the city center pretty quick. For example, like I just mentioned, I now live in Zone 5, but I can still hop on a train to Waterloo Station, which is right next to the London Eye, so basically as central as it gets in London, and it only takes 23 minutes. So if you're thinking of moving here, know that yes, it is expensive, don't get me wrong, but it is manageable if you take things into consideration. And for both people thinking of moving here or just visiting, it's good to know how much of London life is free. The museums, art galleries, markets, parks, and endless cultural events. You can live a rich cultural life in London without having a rich bank account. It just takes some smart budgeting and knowing where to look. Now, this next one might seem contradictory to my last point, but hear me out. Lie number 4 is that the tube is clean and efficient. The tube map is a work of art. The actual experience of riding the tube, not so much. People love to praise London's public transportation system, and yes, it is extensive and it's iconic. You can literally get anywhere within the 9 zones of London without needing a car. It's amazing. But is it clean and efficient? That's a stretch. During rush hour, it turns into a sardine can, and the central line in summer is basically a massive oven with zero airflow. And don't even get me started on delays, signal failures, or weekend engineering works. Ask any local, the phrase good service on all lines is basically mythical. With that being said, it's still one of the best systems in the world, purely based on coverage and frequency. But if you come expecting the tube to feel like this futuristic subway dream, please prepare for reality. Wear deodorant, bring water, and whatever you do, stand on the right. Lie number 5 is that the food is bad. I mean, yeah, traditional British dishes like boiled veg and meat pies have a bland reputation, and in general, classic British dishes aren't the most flavorful when you compare them to other cuisines around the world. But London's food scene is one of the best in the world. It's literally a global food capital. You've got over 70 Michelin-starred restaurants, street food from every continent, and some of the best international cuisine outside of its home countries. Head to Brixton for Caribbean jerk chicken, Brick Lane for unbeatable curries, Camden for Korean bao and Venezuelan arepas. London isn't just a place to eat British food, it's where cultures collide on a plate. So don't knock it until you've had a proper Sunday roast or full English breakfast either. Lie number 6 is that London is all about the past. People love to romanticize London as a historical relic, the home of Shakespeare, Queen Victoria, and the Blitz, and yes, of course you can feel history in the cobblestones and the gorgeous architecture, but to say London is stuck in the past is very inaccurate. Modern London is a tech hub, an art incubator, a fashion capital. It's constantly reinventing itself. Areas like Shoreditch and King's Cross have been transformed from industrial zones into vibrant creative districts. And London skyline is one of my absolute favorites because it's so unique with its mix of ancient churches and traditional architecture with gleaming glass skyscrapers and all kinds of unique shapes and sizes all right next to each other. So yes, visit the Tower of London because it's gorgeous and filled with so much history, but also check out the Tate Modern, Vinegar Yard, or Seven Dials Market so you can see the modernity in London too. The next lie is that London is a concrete jungle. From above, London looks like endless rows of buildings, but on the ground, it's surprisingly green. Actually, 47% of Greater London is green space, which is one of the highest among major world cities. You've got massive parks like Hyde Park, Regent's Park, and Richmond Park, which is a true nature escape filled with wild deer roaming around. Then there's Hampstead Heath with rolling meadows and swimming ponds, and local gems like Battersea Park and Victoria Park. Londoners are big on their green spaces. It's how they cope with the chaos, so don't fall for the myth. Bring a picnic blanket, not just your city shoes. Make sure to check out my video of the best parks in London so you can see all the green spaces London has to offer. And the last lie is that Londoners are rude and cold. Do they look grumpy on the tube? Sure. Do they avoid small talk like the plague? Absolutely. But are they actually rude? No. Londoners are more private than impolite. It's a fast-paced, busy city. People are in a rush, heads down, earphones on. But if you are lost or you ask a question politely, most Londoners will go out of their way to help you. That's one of the culture shocks I did talk about in my first video when I first moved here. And I gave this example from one of my friends who's a recruiter, so he's constantly talking to people all over the world. And he says every time he is interviewing British people and he asks, how are you? They just say, fine, thanks. But if he asks an American, how are you? He'll actually get a detailed answer about how their weekend was or different things going on in their life. And he thought it was odd at first because people around here aren't used to just opening up to strangers or getting involved in a lot of small talk. So that's why Americans, or just some people in general who are used to having small talk with strangers or just being a little more interactive with people around them, can feel like people are cold and rude here in London. But just know it's not a place where people randomly strike up conversations in public. It's not rude, so just respect the flow, mind the queue, and never block the left side of the escalator and you'll do just fine. So there you go, 8 huge lies about London, totally exposed. The real London is layered, complex, a little chaotic, and full of surprises. It's not the city of cliches, it's the city that smashes them. If any of these surprised you, hit that like button, and if you've got your own London myths or experiences, please drop them in the comments. I'd love to read them. Now let's take a look at my 3-day London itinerary so you can plan the perfect trip here.